Hello, listeners. It's Peps, it's J-Dog, and if you thought round one of the finals action was big, week two is going to be even bigger. We're here to go through our tips, our preview for the semi-final weekend of AFL action. And you know, Chris Pepper has to be here with his Tango and Cash sidekick, Jamie the J-Dog Wallis. Big fella, I know it was Super Saturday a couple of weeks ago. I know it was the wonderful weekend last week. How good is semi-final? The best of the worst versus the worst of the best playing each other for a spot against our teams 1 week later.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one. One reason is because I have to. It's a shorter show, which means less time with you, actually face to face, which is great. And this could be the opportunity, Peps, where we start to see maybe the Cats get bounced straight out again.
Sam stows aside, and you're right, mate. It is a shorter show, so it will be good because the glare coming off the bald head of yours, it really does get draining on the cataracts by the end of the session. But you're kicking off the first game.
I am
this weekend. You're kicking off the Cats versus GWS with the winner to take on my mob next weekend. So it's over to you, big fella. Give us your preview of Cats versus the GWS Giants.
Rightio. So it is all kicking off at the home of football tomorrow night. Cats versus the Giants tomorrow, 7:50 p.m. We kind of like those earlier starts. There've been some changes. The Cats have, as you've said, Peps, they've swung the magnets. They've gone to Bunnings, and they've brought in the big man, Ezra Radigalea. He is in the team. So. Looking forward to that one there. Hopefully he's picked up his kicking a little bit, but marking, nothing better. Max Holmes comes in and Zach Tui, huge inclusion into that team.
Big in.
Really needed that one there after last week. Going out, music to many Cats supporters is Luke Dalhouse. Has had a shocker now for, I'd say, a good half of the season. So he's been dropped. Mark O'Connor was injured with his hamstring last week. Sam Simpson is also admitted, and Sean Higgins is managed because half a game of football is too much.
Oh, I'll tell you what, he struggled last week. He struggled during those 38 minutes of football he played. And Luke Dalhouse has been evicted. Do you reckon Geelong supporters, can you tell us just on the chat, when was the last time Luke Dalhouse played a good game for Geelong?
Yeah. Someone will say something. All right, coming in for GWS, a couple of ones here. Is it Booby Hill, Peps?
Oh, it's Booby Hill. We love Booby Hill.
We love Bobby Hill. He's a legend. And also Connor Stone comes into the team as well. Going out is Sam Reid, he's picked up his injury last week. Toby Green. No need to talk about that anymore.
Son.
And Tom Green is also out injured. Green, 2 Greens, different spelling. And Jesse Hogan plays his 100th AFL game, which has only taken about 15 years. So well done, Jesse.
And by the way, the responses have already started flooding in. Never. But the response to Luke Dalhouse playing a good game for Geelong has been never. So once again, invested quite well, Geelong, getting him across from the Doggies.
Absolutely. So this is the second semi. We're talking about the second semi-finals this week. And it's their first ever meetings in the finals. So a new one for these teams. The Giants have come into the match with superb recent record over the Cats, having won the last of their 3 encounters, with the latest just in round 21 this year, so not too long ago. And will be hell-bent on ending the Cats finals campaign. And also coming up against their ex-key forward, superstar of the competition, Jeremy Cameron. So some of the key stats from last week that I decided to pull out and talk about. The Giants basically stopped playing at halftime last week. They almost blew a 5-goal lead to hold on just by 1 point. Perhaps that would go down as a modern finals classic, wouldn't it?
Oh, 1 point finals are always going to be classics.
Yeah, I thought so.
Except if you're on the losing side.
Yes. Look, Giants, as we know, I spoke about it on Tuesday night. Giants lost the inside 50 count, 65-46, with the Swans kicking 7 behinds in the second half. Actually, in the last half, sorry.
I don't know when they just kicked. They just kicked
behind after behind. But the key thing for the Giants, which really set them up for last week's win, is they scored 24 points from forward half stoppages, which really was the difference in that game. They were able to convert once there was a stoppage in their forward 50 or forward half of the ground. So that's a really big win for them. On the other side of the factor, I'll just talk about the negatives for Geelong. It's their fifth consecutive first week final that they have lost. And since the premiership, they've only won one of their first finals, and the win they had, I believe Isaac Smith had a kick after the siren to win that game for Hawthorn if he dropped it. So
I remember that.
It's not pretty reading for Geelong fans, but the good thing is they have a very, very, very good track record of bouncing back. Last week as well, it was a horror night. Geelong scored their lowest score of the season last week. Port Adelaide outscored Geelong, 50 points in the forward 50 chains and led the inside 50 count by 16 as well. So Port just dominated them last week. But the good things for Geelong, some of the things never changed. Geelong won the free kick count, 19-24. So well done, Geelong. It's a stat you rarely lose.
Oh, how was Selwood? Duck.
They also decided to win the turnovers, 57-68 last week. So well done, Geelong. I think Dangerfield was 9 of those turnovers. So, I mean, that's pretty good going. They did win the hit-outs by 5. They also won the clearances by 8, and they won the centre clearances by 12. But everything other than that was a complete horror show. Henderson, I think, was probably contemplating retirement in about the second quarter. It felt like going back to
Adelaide. He'd almost go back to Carlton. That's how bad it got.
If it wasn't for like Jack Henry and those sort of guys back there, Henderson had a real dirty night. So some of the key things here for me, Peps, I expect Jeremy Cameron to have a massive game against this one here. I think Danger will bounce back. I don't see him playing that bad again. And the inclusion of Tui back there on the half-back line is a huge thing for this team. For GWS, they have lost the X factor in Toby Green, who averages 2.3 goals a game. But they have got a lukewarm Jesse Hogan, who claimed a career-high 6 contested marks last week and kicked 2 goals in that first
I thought
final.
He had 9, but I could have been wrong.
That's okay. We know that also in the GWS forward line, they've got Harry Himmelberg, who's kicked 32 goals this season, and probably their most consistent forward. The only concern is when they played the Cats in round 21, they lost that inside 50 count once again, 43-64. And I just don't see the forwards like Tom Hawkins and Jeremy Cameron having another shocking night like they did last Friday. So for me, Peps, I'm going to go Geelong, and I'm going to say they're going to win by 32 points.
Ooh, you're going 6 baggers.
6 baggers. I just don't see they have a very good record of winning the second final.
That's good. My concern looking at it is I think it's another week and the age factor has to kick in.
Mm-hmm.
So
after 1 week, though?
Yeah.
These people aren't paper mache.
No, but Jamie, they've been going 20.
They're not helium balloons. They're not helium balloons. They don't just deflate after a week.
No, but they've been 24. This is their 24th game for the year.
Yep.
Right? Games don't get shorter; they get longer with age, and no rest for the wicked. They got pumped last week. They're going to be on a big ground as well too. And they're going to be run everywhere. And like I said, the longer the game goes, if you have a look at Geelong, the longer the game goes, the more chance you have of overrunning them. Melbourne did it 2 weeks ago.
They did.
Ran over the top of them. And I think GWS are a big chance. But I just look at it, though. Who kicked the most goals for the GWS last week?
Jesse Hogan, wasn't it? 2 goals.
No, Toby Green. Toby Green's not playing.
Yeah.
And there's my issue is that he's the spunk, he's the X factor. He's the barometer. He's the Reece Matheson with skill and talent. And he's a dickhead, but a good dickhead.
And they've lost him.
And they've lost him. And he just provides something up forward that I don't think they're going to be able to replicate.
No.
And once again, you've got to go for the course of the whole year, Jamie. A top 4 team isn't a top 4 team because they're lucky to get there. They've been there virtually for the entire season. And I agree with you. I think they're just going to be too strong. And I think they're going to bounce back from last week. I just don't know how much by. I'm not going as much as 32 points. I'll probably go maybe 3 goals at the most.
Peps, be careful what you say, because do you want to play the Cats in a prelim final for your grand final spot? Or do you want to play GWS? Peps, speak from the heart, mate. You got to talk from the heart.
I'd play Geelong.
You don't play Geelong than GWS?
Of course you would.
Okay.
A fresh Melbourne against a Geelong team who averages around about 12 to 13, or 12 players over the age of 30 running around on a big oval. A fresh Melbourne with they don't have a ruckman. We saw that a couple of weeks ago. They don't like playing on wide grounds. We've seen that happen last week.
Yep.
We'll run them. I would love to play Geelong.
I love it. So you're saying Geelong by how many?
3 goals, but that's it.
Okay. Yep.
And if anything, my friend on the chat, he just said, Mr. John Michael, he's looking for hopefully Taranto to kick 8, and Danger and Cameron, or Danger and Hawkins, or Danger and Cameron to ping a hammy. So this is why I just hope there's a bit of twanging going on.
You want to see the old bodies break down?
I want to see them all break down. I want them all broken down for next week.
As long as they win and then break down.
I want them to be 3 goals up at Twangfest. I want banjos being strummed everywhere.
Well, I was going to say, you are someone who doesn't mind seeing a few men twang a couple around you.
Mate, I love a good twang. I've had over 377 twangs and loved every single one of them.
Very good. All right.
Very well, my friend. Very, very well done. And the feedback coming in off the chat is you are the man. All righty. So that means that the 377 game superstar with copious amounts of finals experience. Did I ever tell you the time that I won Best in Finals back in 1997?
I did. Peps, how many grand finals did you end up walking away with after your illustrious career?
None.
377 games and no grand finals.
No, I played in grand finals, just never won one.
Yeah, I blame the other teammates. I blame the other 18 blokes.
Oh, no,
17 blokes.
They let me down. There's a few people in the chat here who saw me play, and my God, was I good. Almost as good as these two teams that we're going to be running around on Saturday night, 7:20 p.m, 4th versus 5th, Brisbane versus the Doggies. One word for you, people, is this. Uncontested. That's the type of football these two teams like to play. It's a little bit of uncontested. They like getting their hands on the ball, but they like to do it in 2 completely different ways. Brisbane Lions playing at home. Very disappointing against the D's last week. But does that say more about Melbourne, or does it say more about Brisbane? I'll leave that one up to you.
More about McStay.
It doesn't. He was McGone when he got McNeed in the McNose. All right. Brisbane, they rate first for kicks. Rates for inside 50s first. Clearances first. Okay. Massive risk versus reward. They like to get their foot on the ball and move it around the ground. But they're 4th for clangers. So they don't mind making mistakes because of the catalyst of the midfield running around, and also the firepower that they have had throughout the year. Didn't tick all the time, did kick in the last few weeks. But here's the thing, J-Dog. If you have a look at their scores, they do rank for first for points. Apparently, number 1 attacking midfield or attacking forwards.
Attacking forward, 6, yep.
For the year. But most of their scores, big blowout scores, were against bottom 8 teams. Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show you play against a half-decent defence and a half-decent midfield who play accountable football. They got blown away last week, and that should have been at least 10 goals rather than kick straight. Okay. That saying, though, my other concern for the backs is also they got caught out a fair bit. So Rich and Birchall, when they get their hands on the ball, beautiful by foot. Targets lace out because, that's how we want your footy. But they're susceptible going the other way. And it happened last week. Fritsch got on the end of a few. Cozzy Picker got on the end of a few. Neil Bullen was running his absolute tush off. Spargo did his thing. So they're massively susceptible out the back. And when you've got people like Cody Waitman running down forward, when you've also got people, you've got the Bont, you've got McRae, you've got Smith, you've got Treloar, who are fast on the wheels.
Did Wallis get an opportunity?
Wallace ain't getting a game ever again for the Doggies. Okay?
Wallis.
Yeah. So that's going to be a bit of a disappointment from that perspective. All right? If you have a look from the Western Bulldogs side of things, they just want the ball and they move it fast. Not by foot, but by handball. They are the link-up kings.
Yeah.
They average 22 more disposals a game than their opposition.
Mm.
But the thing is, J-Dog, they're down 5 every game on kicks. They rank 27 more in handballs every single game. So they are run and gun, and they are linking team. And that, look, when you've got a midfield with the barometers that we spoke about a moment ago, no wonder why they dominate. Yeah. When the midfield's down, which we saw for probably the 3 weeks before the finals kicked off, they are very, very susceptible and very, very gettable as well. But they had a bit of spunk last week. They got back to where they needed to be, and
second half especially.
Dominate, especially in that second half, certainly. One thing that they like to also do for the Brisbane Lions, if I have a look at this, is for the Doggies, is they tend to move the ball forward, and then when it gets to 70, that's when they go.
Yep.
Okay. Bruce going down is a bigger thing. We mentioned it last week. Bruce going down, I think, is going to be where the Doggies fall over this year. And it's funny, you got 2 teams here, Hipwood and also the Doggies, having their guns forwards going out, leaving more pressure on Danaher and Norton. Danaher didn't stand up last week. Norton did. So that's where I think the Western Bulldogs have a bit more of an advantage. Also going down back, Harris Andrews, he is on the sniff, mate. I don't know what the hell is going on with him, but he just didn't seem anything like he would normally be. Like I said, McStay is McGone.
I don't think Harris took a contested intercept mark at all.
I don't think Harris even knew he was playing. I reckon he dead set had the Benny Hill soundtrack running around in the back of his head of some of the things that he was doing last week.
Maybe Henderson and him shared the same something.
You know, I reckon who gave him some coaching advice during the week? Tyrone Vickery. I reckon he was giving him a bit of, this is where you need to run. You remember when he was doing those with a bit of the concussion and he marked the ball when there was no one there? So I think it was a case of that as well too. But they just don't let their opposition get the ball.
Yeah.
But the thing is that because they're handballing, they're all pushing up. If you can get it out the back again over the top of them, there's a lot forward to push back as well too. So it's going to be an interesting one. If you have a look at some of the key matchups here, you've got 3 out of the last 10 have been won by Brisbane. So the Doggies have the knuckles over them. But 2 out of the last 3 have been for the Brisbane Lions as well too. So you can look at history, but history is a bit of a mystery when you sort of look at it as well. If you have a look at the setups as well in terms of who's going to be playing, I've got Rich versus Bailey Dale, the halfback boys. Okay. Yep. Rich with his cannon, Bailey Dale just setting up all Australians for both of them this year, which was sensational. So that's going to be awesome to watch. Zorko versus the Bont. You've got Lyons versus Bailey Smith. I put Neil versus McRae, the accumulators. It's interesting you have a look at Neil. He had 48 touches against the D's last week and didn't do much with them. So the numbers lie, like Hightower and Police Academy 1. Oh, the numbers don't lie. The numbers lied. 48 disposals.
Do you reckon Neil got some a bit of advice from the previous Brownlow winner Tom Mitchell and said, "How do you do it? How do you do it?"
Yeah, they're part of the sheepdog. You know, we've got the Lenny Hayes, good-looking bloke.
Hey, I'm not prepared to let you talk about Neil being a sheepdog just yet.
He sheepdogged a lot last week.
Let him have a game. Let him have a game of a sheepdog.
Yeah, if there's another sheepdog game this week, then
you're going to call him a sheepdog.
Okay. The interesting thing is they only Brisbane had 19 tackles in their forward 50 last week. That's how much the ball was going.
Yeah.
But they average 11 per game. So whether they're going to be able to do that again, I don't know. But just the people who have been setting up for them over the last couple of weeks, McCluggage, Berry Boys, they just weren't there. Yeah. And my concern is the only person who kept them in the game at any stage last week was Charlie Cameron. So Alex Keith against Danaher, is Alex Keith going to be able to stop him? I think so. I think he's going to be more dangerous that way. Just keep Danaher down. He's going too far up the ground. Alex Keith will absolutely love that, and the Bulldogs backline will love that as well too. Caleb Daniel versus McCluggage, they're obviously the link-up men. Will there be any tagging? I reckon there's an opportunity to tag here. We saw if the extraction man Libba gets his hands on it, the human art gallery gets his hands on it, you might want to go to him. If Zorko starts to create a bit of influence around the ground, get on him as well. It may be Jared Lyons. If they start to get out of control, one of these teams is going to go out of control, one place or another. And so I can definitely see a tagger going to those as well too. Okay. So if I put this in perspective, Brisbane Lions have got Devon Robertson coming in and Jack Payne coming in. Daniel McStay is out with concussion. Jackson Pryor has been omitted. Reece Matheson, the Medi sub. gone cold on the temperature, the barometer. The Western Bulldogs, interestingly enough, no one is in, yet Jason Johannesson, the midi-sub, has been let go. Gee, hasn't that been a fall from grace for the top deck himself?
Wrecked his hair, wrecked his career.
Exactly right. So, J-Dog, looking at these two teams, and I'm going, okay, if one forward doesn't fire, have I got reliable goal kickers to back that up? And for the Doggies, I would definitely say yes. For Brisbane, Danaher doesn't do anything. It's all on Charlie Cameron's shoulders.
Correct.
If Norton doesn't do anything, Cody Waitman. Let's have a look at the midfield goal kickers. Zorko, does he kick him? Occasionally. Lockie Neal, not as much. Lions, definitely. Jared Berry, when he gets his hands on it, definitely. Okay.
Yeah, McCluggage.
Let's have a look at McCluggage as well too. Let's have a look at the Doggies. McRae, Caleb Daniel, We know the Bont can kick him if he needs to as well. Bailey Smith. So then we go from the defensive side of things. I reckon the Doggies are going to win this one.
The Doggies?
The Doggies are going to win this one.
And Peps, I like what you said there.
You don't spend half the season on top of the ladder and have 3 bad games to drop out and put yourself into this position. 4 rounds to go before this season finished, they were the premiership favourites. They got a bit of spunk back last week, and all the pressure this week is on Brisbane. And that's why I'm just going with the Dogs, because there was just something about the way that they came out after that second half last week. And to keep a team goalless in a half, it's only been, last time that was done, I think, was in Melbourne versus West Coast in that prelim. To keep Essendon goalless for a half, you've got to be doing something right. And they did a lot more right than Brisbane did last week, and that's why I'm thinking the Doggies.
I like it.
And I'm making it a close one. 8 points.
Yeah. Look, I think what you sort of identified there is the Dogs seem to have a little bit more different options to goal.
They have.
If things need to. As you said, Joe Danaher's got a fire and Charlie Cameron, where the Doggies have got a couple of more midfielders that run through and kick goals and a couple of those small forwards that also can create a nuisance as well. Throw in Tim English for maybe a goal or so.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. One of the stats that I did pull out when I was having a bit of a look through this is Brisbane don't get a lot of hit-outs.
Yeah.
Yet the difference with the Doggies is they almost don't have except for Tom English, they don't virtually have a nominated ruckman. The Bont would be doing it for a while. So both these teams tend to feed off each other's clearances.
Yeah.
So whoever gets on their hands on the ball first is either going to be kicking it long or linking up with handball. So I think that's where the game's going to be won, is around not with the taps, but who actually gets the extraction out of the clearance as well too, because they're both clearance teams. I love it. Absolutely love it. And Brisbane are first for that in the competition.
So you said Doggies. How much by?
8 points.
8 points. A goal and a bit.
I actually think it's going to be a close one. Because it's up in Brisbane, they're going to have the crowd behind them. But, I just...
Okay. I'm going to go... Oh, it's such a tough one. I'm going to go Brisbane. And that's just for the fact that you and I can have something to talk about on Tuesday. We can't tip the same all the time.
We can't tip the same. We never do. We just argue.
So, Brisbane for me. I like where you're going there, Peps. Good analysis. Well done.
Nicky Thiel from the Portress has just thrown this one out that if last week's game is any inclination, Port versus Geelong, hit-outs don't win games.
Absolutely.
Probably would agree with it. The difference, though, Nicky, is depending on who the ruckman is and if they're doing something with those hit-outs and put into advantage, that's when they make a much difference. So maybe have a look at the other game and see what the big Maxi G with that sexy bald head, a bit like J-Dog's, and a beard, what he does around the ground, it just allows a team to get first hands on the ball. So that's why, but Geelong Reece Stanley, my goodness, he was good for about 35 seconds and then
depending on what the team is, like Port have more value on clearance statistics than they do on centre clearances, on stoppage clearances versus centre clearances.
Yeah.
Port have always been that kind of team who prefers to score more from that.
Exactly right. And even from our perspective, Melbourne play one less around from the clearances. Sure, up, down, back.
Yeah.
And then run it off.
And then attack from there. Yeah.
When you got bull or not, when you got the two bulls in there, Oliver Petrarca, geez, anything can happen as well too. So there it is. I'm going with the.
You said Western Bulldogs by 8 points.
Western Bulldogs, and I'm also going Geelong.
You're going Geelong by, you said 15?
3 goals, yep.
3 goals, okay. Cool. All right. And I'm going the Cats by a lot, 32, and I'm going to go Brisbane Lions by 20.
Awesome.
Some of those things here, Charlie Keegan said Cody Waitman won't have the umps giving him a free kick like he did last week.
Here's the thing, right? And by the way, for all the people out there, and I know it's no one in this community, but anyone who was trolling Cody Waitman, he doesn't pay the decision. He just puts himself in the position to get the decision. All right. So he's kicked 4 goals in the final. Don't know if many people out there have even kicked 4 goals in their life. So give the young fella a go. He's got a bit of a surfy's haircut, and I like the cut of his jib.
Listeners, tell us who you're going for. On the chat tonight, tell us who you're going for. We want to know how much you think who's going to win.
Who wins and by how much. Definitely. So that'll be the listener question for Tipped Out. Who wins by and how much?
I've got a scoop here for the Cougars.
Go for it, buddy.
Is it Noonsy's last year?
No.
Has he communicated this?
No. Noonsy's last year was 1997. That's what
sorry. I thought he was saying it's his last year this year.
It was his last season in 1997. So
we can't blame him for that.
It wasn't too bad of an on-baller, Noonsy.
Peps.
Yeah, mate.
Can you see my cup?
Oh, get stuffed. Hey, listen, everybody.
Hang on, we're going to wait. What's their responses? Where are their responses? The listeners.
They're going to put it in the chat of the show, not the chat here, if they've tuned out. Hey, listen, so everybody, that's it. We'll be back on Tuesday night. Look, all we're hoping for is 2 cracking games where they punch the living suitcases out of each other. So it just makes it easiest for our teams in 2 weeks' time. So a week's time. So hopefully your team wins. And if your team hasn't made it, hey, too bad. By the way, JP, Justin Parker's tips. He has 2 horses racing this week. Saturday, Dusty Tycoon, race 9.
That's not a tip. That's not a tip. He's like $1 one or something.
I don't know. And the big goodbye, race 7 at Eagle Farm. Big chances to win. JP, you've said that all season, and I'm still freaking waiting for a collect. All right? So if you want to put your hard earn on that, maybe put that into Tipped Out's multi for this week. But look, that's the show for the night. We'll see you Tuesday night for a wrap up of a massive weekend. Also,
8 p.m.
as we went to air, Ned Guy. Sorry, not Ned Guy. Who's the guy who's the Collingwood president?
The other one.
Yep.
Don't know. I forgot his name.
Anyway, he's not going to be part of it. He's pulled the pin. So the 2 guys that were punching on, he's gone. So. Craigie Wessels, I know you're watching this all the way from the US of A. The replay will be up on the Lace Out page, or you can listen to the podcast, as most people do as well too. So that's it. That's Tipped Out for this week. This is how you want your finals tipped. Tipped Out style with the great man, Jamie the J-Dog Wallis, and me, Chris Pepper. We'll see you Tuesday. Have a great one, lads and lasses.
And
hope the team wins. Yeah, mate.
Poor people, I'll see you on the podcast in a couple of minutes. See you, everyone. See you, listeners. Oh, yeah, we're doing a live show. That's right. I forgot. See you, listeners.
What's he doing? Thanks for listening to our latest episode. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on iTunes. I'm your host, Chris Pepper, and with Jamie Wallis, we give you your footy how you want it. Peace out.